So we're talking about anti-whites in the government, city, state, feds. We're talking about the anti-whites behind the scenes. Now we have who are revealing and providing all of the intelligence needed to undermine resistance to anti-whiteism. Now you have one of the kind of characters, one of the extreme type kind of anti-white character, miscreant on the street, illegal migrant rioter, instead of anti-white terrorist, charged with hurling Molotov cocktail at LA cops, was once deported, as chilling footage shows him stalking the police, getting ready to do that again. That's him right here. Look at that anti-white piece of garbage. You are not going to be able to mount a defense by calling these people migrants, illegal, or otherwise. Anti-white terrorist. Do you think the Israelis would call the Palestinians coming in to kill them? Do you think they would call them a border crosser? No, because they have a much healthier identity as a people. That's why. And that doesn't make them all healthy. I said on the other stream that they have a healthier identity. And yes, there are other ways that they might not be the healthiest people, but they have a far superior healthy identity as a people. An anti-white terrorist from Mexico, what a surprise, is accused of throwing a Molotov cocktail at cops during the anti-white terror in Los Angeles last week. And he'd already been deported from the U.S. once before. That should be automatic execution, in my opinion. If you come in illegally, you break in illegally, then, and we catch you, you're gone. And if you come back, the next time we catch you, we will execute you. There's no judge involved. There'll be no judge. They'll just look on the data. They'll say, here are your fingerprints. Here's your DNA. You were here before. There's the chair. Have an electrifying experience. That's how it should work. Emiliano. I said it with Italian. That's not. It's like Emiliano Cardono Galvez now faces an attempted murder charge after being nabbed by Immigration and Customs Enforcement Monday, according to the Department of Homeland Security. So, ominous video footage released by ICE shows the Mexican anti-white terrorist lurking around, and I am translating the article. This is one of the exercises of the Go Free practice. When you read an article, you're going to be reading anti-white speak. And what do we know about anti-white speak? You do not give them the names of their taking. You do not use their lexicon. And you do not take the names of their giving. That's what we know. If you use their concepts, you legitimize their ideology. That is the psychological warfare. But Jason, my mind thinks that I knows that it's different. No, dum-dum. No. Your mind doesn't think. It thinks that for 1 second, half a second, 2 seconds, consciously, and then you cede control back to the subconscious mind for 95 to 98% of your life. So stop telling me that I can know it's different. So here he is, the anti-white animal, lurking around a tree, wearing a black hoodie and face mask with what appeared to be a Molotov cocktail at his feet on Saturday. At one point, he flicks a lighter as if to test that it's working according to the footage. Police are trying to push rioters away from the area before Garduno Galvez allegedly chucked the explosive at them, I said. Okay, so willing to disfigure, maim, and kill you. AntiWhite. Who will have the cover of the government, the AntiWhites in government? Again, we have an anomaly in Donald Trump, and look how much it still sucks. All of these people that are being charged, all of these anti-whites that are being charged by Los Angeles, you know those charges are all going to be dropped. Just reflect on the 2020 anti-white terror, not the summer of love. Being snarky, being sarcastic doesn't win. It makes you a child and a loser, a literal loser. So we have the anti-whites in the government. We have the anti-whites providing the murderers, maimers, etc., the intelligence they need to find you. And then they have the murderers and maimers and etc. right here. They're ready to roll, and they're all over the place. There's his Molotov cocktail that he threw at law enforcement. He was arrested. Why wasn't he killed? Why wasn't he just shot dead on the spot? Why is he going to be able to be given rights that he didn't earn? That he has no responsibilities in our country. He just gets all the benefits, all the rights. What's our social contract with the government worth then? If you don't have to do anything for it, you have no responsibilities, you just come in and get all the rights that we have, what's it worth then? That's what the anti-whites have made of governance. Why do, for my conservative friends out there, why do Democrats want votes out of these people? And by the way, it's not just them voting personally illegally when they show up at a ballot box, which we're finding again and again and again and again all across the country, case after case of this happening, people being charged with it, charges being dropped for it. You can check it out for yourself. Maybe I'm wrong. It's not just their vote so that a Democrat can be in office. It's their vote so that anti-whiteism can continue dominating the West. So, cucks, stop pretending this is just about Karen Bass driving an Aston Martin, or maybe she doesn't, but Gavin Newsom does. It's not just about him driving an Aston Martin. This is not just about personal finances. This is about the ideology of anti-whiteism. You have to stop being such a coward. You've got to gird yourself for the truth that this is a war on Western kind and therefore our expression, Western civilization, our norms, our sensibilities. It's a war on all of that. And you'll see the arguments, more of the arguments made to make this very clear that it's a war on us as a people. And therefore you, as someone who cannot escape the identity as a white person, in the eyes of our victimizers. So let's continue. Katy Perry, the glitterati, speaking to the masses, anti-whiteism. Katy Perry rages about illegal migrants hunted like criminals in their own ancestral homes. Do you see how widespread this is? You're going to build a little gun club? You're going to go hide somewhere? You're going to go craven out and hide in Idaho or Wisconsin or South Dakota. You're going to go hide. This is everywhere. I think it might be in Boise that even though in some cities they don't have the money for the big sex parades, the big ass sex parades that they're having this time of year, I think they're having one there in Boise. Somebody could check it out for me to see. I think they're going to make it happen there. So here you have the glitterati. The glitterati, the people in Hollywood, the people in music. This is the anti-white narrative that they create and keep alive. When she or any of the other musicians sing about the oppression within the anti-white narrative, they sing about the suffering, they sing about that, because that is the reality that we live in, the fictitious reality that we then live in. Specifically, these individuals that follow the music, follow the entertainment, and the opinions of the entertainers that they value more than the average person. So in a country dominated, controlled by white men for white well-being, which would be for everyone's well-being in the West, anti-whiteism would be illegal, and she would be jailed for this kind of talk. So let's see what this, look at this thing. Hideous. Pop star Katy Perry claimed that illegal migrants, anti-white terrorists are being hunted like criminals in their ancestral home. So it isn't yours. You built it. You built it. You built LA. You created the state of California. Mexicans did not create the state of California. And some of those original Mexicans, of course, you should know, were white people. So the argument, of course, is self-detonating there as well. But what we can see is the Mexicans that they're talking about today. They often will reference them as brown people. You just want to get rid of the brown people, implying that the land of California and Los Angeles belongs to them. In a series of Instagram stories on Tuesday, Perry promoted a message that said, illegal migrants, anti-white terrorists, are descendants of those who built California. On the basis of what? You had a Mexican that built a shack here or a shack there in land that is now the Western civilization, that is now California, this once great and glorious state. And so therefore it belongs to them. Preposterous. No need to argue with them about, well, who was there building their wigwams before that? And who was there making their spear points from across the Atlantic before that, all the way up to Washington State? No need to argue about that. It won't matter to them, because the recourse to this argument is just to get to an anti-white outcome. So you just call them out on their anti-whiteism. You just attack them on their anti-whiteism. They're just given an excuse to divest the white race of what we have created. You can look at the old photographs of Los Angeles, as you can with any city, San Francisco, New York, Chicago, Detroit. When those cities were built, and long thereafter, the streets were teeming with white, well-dressed people. Teeming, because white people built it. It is white people. Los Angeles is white people. And when there aren't enough white people left within Los Angeles and white people outside of Los Angeles to perpetuate the aspects that anti-whites will permit, like social welfare and arresting a certain percentage of criminals and making sure the stoplights work and this sort of thing. Once that percentage of white people that can do this is low enough, it won't be Los Angeles anymore. You can say all day long you want Viva Los Angeles or whatever. You can say that all day long. It won't be Los Angeles. It'll be a typical mestizo city. It'll become just like the rest of them. There'll be no difference. And do you know how these anti-whites, particularly the Central and South American brand, do you know how they feel about those cities that they and their people create with their instincts? Well, they will scream and fight and kill you to prevent themselves from being put back in those environments. They'll even make spurious arguments like this, facetious arguments like this, that, oh, it's their ancestral homeland. Because don't you know, somebody with a Hispanic last name built a shack somewhere here in what is now California. So therefore, they built California. This is another part of the problem with creating a society that enriches people who are involved in endeavors that are not a benefit to our people as a whole. This disgusting, this whatever she does is no benefit to our people. There should be, for things like this, heavy taxation so that you'll still be able to get your time on the stage. You can look out and there can be all these people maybe applauding, but we're going to tax you to oblivion to do it. We're also going to make anti-white speak illegal. She said, quote, Los Angeles has lived under 3 flags: Spain, a white; Mexico, early Mexico, a white; and the United States, white. That land has seen borders shift, power change hands, and yet the people, especially the brown people, have always been there. No, lying anti-white scum. So she just revealed for you that this is racial. It is racially anti-white. My cuck brothers and sisters, they are racially anti-white. It is about race. They are attacking us on the basis of our race. They are attacking our manifestations on the basis of our race. Our manifestations are our inner selves created by us in the outer world. That's what they are attacking. The brown people. It needs to be given, in other words, to not white people. It rightfully belongs to not white people. That's what she and other anti-whites are saying. From Katy Perry to the Molotov cocktail guy to the Quillen guy to Karen Bass to the governor. This is the exact same ideology. She writes on, planting roots, building lives, raising families. And now in 2025, the descendants of those same communities are being hunted like criminals in their own ancestral homeland. What are some weak arguments here? First of all, our cuck brothers and sisters, and even the schmucks, will be calling these people immigrants. Which, of course, the cucks will point out here, look how dumb and silly she is. Either they're natives or they're immigrants. That's what a cuck would say and think that they made a point. No point has been made, cuck. It's not about being right in the terminology. It's not about being smart in the delivery. It's about arriving at anti-white conclusions. We do not give them the names of their taking. These aren't immigrants. These aren't natives. These are not Native Americans. These are anti-white terrorists. Quote, it's more than infuriating. It's a deep injustice. Part of the fanaticism that you see from anti-whites to risk it all. What's a big difference between the anti-whites when it comes to this racially anti-white conflict, and white people, those defending against it, who obviously, in what I'm talking about here, are not anti-white. The anti-whites of all races have righteous indignation. The story they're living in, the anti-white narrative, Katy Perry says it's infuriating because it's a deep injustice that motivates her to even turn away fans. Conservatives won't understand. Why would you give up money? That's all that matters. Why does she do that? I don't know. Because it's an ideology. She'll sacrifice wealth. She'll sacrifice fans because she feels righteously indignant what's happening on the not anti-white, white with some good non-white people side. They're not fighting deep injustice for something they love and care about. They're fighting abstractions or fighting non-white races. There's no righteous indignation, and therefore there's no action. The righteous indignation is going to come from love. When you have righteous indignation coming from love, you'll have wealthy people willing to sacrifice their wealth, their reputation, to stand up against our victimization, just like you see on the anti-white side. Now, of course, even though Katy Perry is infinitely wealthier than everyone here, I don't know exactly her net worth, but I'm sure she's made more in a year or two than I will in an entire lifetime, because I probably only have double her IQ and far more productive, but it doesn't matter. Far more of a benefit to people and their lives. But that's not how capitalism is organized. It's not meant to reward people who actually benefit folks. Certainly not benefiting white folks. That's not how capitalism works. The god of the cucks. How can a city, she says, built on Mexican labor, Mexican history, and Mexican culture turn around and criminalize the very people who shaped it? So in other words, shaped it, built it, created it. Reality doesn't matter. You know, they'll say the same thing. I've been saying this for maybe 2 decades about London. The day will come when they will say that London was built by non-white people. It will say it as a fact in the history books. It'll more importantly, much more deeply in the entertainment. They'll just create completely fictitious entertainment that shows London being built by white people, non-white people, every step of the way from the very inception of it. They did the majority of the work. They were there first, etc. And you can say all you want. No, that's not going to happen, Jason. I bet your life. That's how certain I am. It is absolutely going to be rewritten. Kind of like Egypt is rewritten, but that's another tale for another day. The conservatives, of course, at Breitbart, which is ultimate conservadom, are going to argue things like the treaty and the war, and we bought it fair and square. None of that matters. None of it matters, cucks, because the argument is just a means to an end, the end being anti-whiteism. There's a video going around right now of a anti-white white female who confronted a man because he had a Trump sticker, and they have a little back and forth where he disproves what she's arguing. Here's the interesting thing about disproof, though, before I get to the end. You may have seen the video, is that you rely on your audience to objectively agree on reality, to objectively agree with reason, logic, and evidence. If your audience refuses to do that, facts and figures don't matter. You know, I had that conversation many times over the years, and it's amazing to watch people search in their brain, and you can see their eyes looking around. You can see them trying to puzzle that together, realizing that, wow, never thought about it before. You do need your victimizer to agree with you. You need them, first of all, to be able to quite literally, physically be able to use reason and logic. And not everybody is capable of it. But not only do you need them to physically be able to do it, you need them to actually do it, to be motivated by something internally. You are relying on something in your victimizer that they will not give you. They're probably capable of it. If they get into an argument with a friend or something, they're probably capable of yielding to what they agree with their friend or whatever it is objectively true. But with you, the villain in the anti-white narrative, they're never going to agree with you on reason, logic, and evidence. So this woman in this conversation, she found herself in a position where on camera, she was screwing up a bit. She could have, and I bet if she wasn't on camera, very easily just rejected his reason and logic and evidence. That's what they do most of the time. That's one of the reasons why I crafted so many of the MCs to work the way that they do. That's why all of it, from its antecedent to its deductions, have recourse to the opposition's merely being anti-white and doing and saying everything that they can do or say to get to that conclusion. But she found herself tripping up a little bit. She had a phone with a video rolling right in front of her face while he was doing this to her. She was probably thinking about, I can reject his reason and logic and evidence and win this. But there might be people watching this video who don't. And at that moment, she snapped. And she reached out to punch him in the face for it. Did reason and logic and evidence arrest, negate her anti-whiteism? Did they cause her to reflect upon her anti-whiteism? No. When, regrettably for her, she knew there would be an audience watching who might, in her mind, agree with the gentleman, the guy in this case, she just physically assaulted him. That's who you're dealing with. Somebody needs to go to some of these sophisticates in the white sympathetic sphere who make such arguments and clue them in on the reality that they need our victimizers to yield in their own brains to some objective truth beyond themselves. Such a silly endeavor from the very beginning. Once you realize what I just told you, you realize how fruitless, how ineffective that has always been. So going to the audience, to the Katy Perrys, and saying, well, we fought for it and we won and we bought some of it and they ceded some of it to us and there was a deal. None of that matters. None of it's mattered in South Africa. No, they say it's South Africa belongs to the black people because they were there first. It doesn't matter that South Africa is a creation of the white people. Same thing holds true for Orania today. 300 white people went out and purchased that land by the Orange River, built a brand new town. Now they're going to be argued out of it, not yours. You're perpetuating racism, in quotes.